Well, the question we're asking this morning is whether we are on top of our security issues.
Yes.
And of course, the trampoline is news yesterday or 2 days ago concerning 2 Yemenis who are in Ghana as we speak, concerning, they've been released from Guantanamo Bay, and their release to Ghana brings the number of detainees in Guantanamo to 105. They didn't just come in. There are other reports of Rwandese also being brought to Ghana, as well as Syrian refugees who are going to be reintegrated with some family members here. So we're looking at all these developments on the international scene, but we're also looking at local developments. Last year, you do remember that there was news about a Ghanaian, one Nazir, who is
recruited,
yes, recruited by ISIS. There was one other lady who was also suspected to have joined ISIS. We hear reports of these recruitments.
We heard of a base in Labadi, for instance.
And we're wondering, trying to put all these together, connecting the dots to speak to the security of our nation. Of course, domestically, we're also talking about EC issues. So voters register is not going to be changed.
No.
It's going to be audited. MPP is not happy.
Yes.
There are conversations about this, and threats are being made, and we just want to know whether we're on top of issues.
Fact,
on top
even
of that,
Christian Council is not happy.
Exactly.
And I mean, we're so blessed. We have Irbad in the studio, international relations experts,
yes,
and
analyst.
security experts and analysts. Irbad, I mean, from everything that Kafui has enumerated, I'm saying that, look, we've been threatened, you know, by all of these, you know, security issues, and yet we kind of let it go away, just like that, kind of, you know.
I think you and CAF have given quite a comprehensive preamble to the discussion. You could take each item and treat it quite thoroughly.
Yes.
I'm not so perturbed too much about the Gitmo former detainees. For me, it's a non-issue. In the past 48 hours,
okay, tell me about it. What's your take? Let me know your position on that.
You know, GH1 security, before we just come in,
Exactly.
I think your security suffices to overpower those 2 guys that are coming. These are not people in their prime of, you know, terrorist activities and all that. The international press has tried so hard to give them a very rich resume, talking about them being some of the forebears who actually trained with Osama bin Laden in the Farouk camp in the Helmand province. But one of them was cleared in 2007, as far back. The other was cleared in 2009.
So they were cleared and they were still in there?
Yeah, because, you know, I don't understand the...
But does that clear their links to friends who they may have met in training camps and networks that they may have had? You may clear him, the U.S. government may clear you, but does that clear your networks?
I think half the manpower of Al-Qaeda and Taliban before they were detained have already been killed. So this is just, I would want to assuage people's fears. This is just part of a conflict resolution mechanism we call the DDR approach. Disarmament, those people have been disarmed. Demobilization, which answers CAF's question, whether they still have links to such actors, whether in Afghanistan, Somalia, or Iraq, or Syria. There is no such connection between them and any other militant actors currently. What Ghana is being called upon to do is to help with the R, which is their rehabilitation. Because the U.S. has gotten it, that normally when they release these people and take them to Arab countries, because those people do not have a very good human rights track record, some of them are killed at the end of the day. So it's a stopgap measure, and I think it's a feather in a cap in terms of our status as a country that is seen as a stable country, a quite diplomatic country that is ready to consolidate the bilateral ties that bind us with the United States. So for them to be here, and this is not an open-ended engagement, it will end after 2 years, and so that they would go back. So CAF, it's not like they would be talking to people, they would be on Twitter, on Facebook, they would not have access to all those luxuries of life.
How do you know this, Ibrahim?
You said something this morning. One of them already has plans to what?
Yeah, they want to learn the language, get a job, settle down, get married.
You know, get married and all of that. I mean, are you saying that you're one of those people that believe this is a purely humanitarian?
It is. I think Ghanaians are making a mountain out of a molehill. It's just like making a storm out of this teacup. Look, these are 2 guys. They were waterboarded to a large extent whilst they were in Gitmo. The hell of it, terrorism has been beaten out of them. and they are remorseful. They would want to be reintegrated into society, and that is why they are talking the way they are talking. But even at Anchor 4, we don't make people use mobile phones. We don't allow people to talk to whoever they want to talk to. So there's an extraordinary arrangement between the government of the United States and our government, and I believe by this time they would be hunkering down at some safe house that is not known to anybody. They can't talk to anybody. They can't, even when they want to talk to family members, they will do so over secured lines. So it's not like they'll be at KNUST helping with ISIS recruitment or something.
But I want to ask a follow-up question, but I think that we have a video. Let's quickly take a look
the Fox News
at this
report.
one. Yeah, and then we'll come back and continue this.
That's
yeah.
It's Fox News Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Harris is here. Catherine, who was released?
Okay, so this guy, Bin Attaf, was released. He's a Yemeni national. The military assessed him to be a member of the Taliban, a follower of Osama bin Laden. And then the second guy goes by Salah al-Dubi. He's also a Yemeni. Both of them were judged to be at least a medium risk to U.S. national security.
When, now or then?
In 2007. But here's the key thing about them. They both attended something called the Al-Farouk training camp in Afghanistan. This is no camp for Boy Scouts. They trained 4 of the 9/11 hijackers. So this is a hardcore Al-Qaeda training camp, and they were picked up by the United States just after the 9/11 attacks.
Where are they going?
Well, they're going to Ghana. This is a small African nation, and as we earlier reported, we're looking at onesies and twosies now as they come out of Guantanamo to these other countries. And here's the thing that people are missing. These countries are not taking them out of the goodness of their heart. They're taking them because they've been promised some favor in the future by the United States. I don't know in this case, but I know in the past, under the Bush administration, we transferred a detainee to Albania, and then a senior member of the administration went to NATO and advocated on Albania's behalf to have more involvement with NATO.
Why don't we get to know? I mean, now that the deal's done, I mean, why don't the American people get to know what the deal is?
Because it's embarrassing. That's it. It's
So
embarrassing.
at the next press conference at the White House press corps should say, or even to Josh Ertz tomorrow, what did the United
Well, I
States
can't
do?
speak to how other reporters handle this. All I know is that in 2007, these people were assessed to be either medium or high risk threats to the United States. And what's really changed in the last 8 years is not that they've suddenly become different people, but what's happened is that this White House is willing to accept more risk, to dial up the risk in order to close the camps. If you think Gitmo is a problem, you are willing to accept more risk. If you think Gitmo should stay open.
You paid particular attention to this.
I hope that was Fox News.
That's Fox News.
I was squinting to
Yes,
find
it
out
was
whether
Fox
it was
News.
Fox
It was
News.
Fox
Just like
News.
taking news about NDC from
Yes.
Net 2.
So this,
Or
these
taking
are
news about
NPP,
NPP, NPP from
hardcore
Radio
Republican,
Gold.
Republican
Look,
sentiment.
B and CAF. I'll tell you this. You see,
Should we disregard them?
You didn't pick this from SNBC. You understand, the domestic politicking in the United States of America will determine the trajectory of people's, discourse around this subject. So therefore, there is no cause for alarm at all. We have the statistics. Many of these guys that have been waterboarded, they've been tortured by the CIA. They don't have the appetite to want to go back to this. And these are not high, the lady said they are some of the high-risk, detainees they've ever gotten. The 2 most high-risk people under American detention are KSM, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who is accused of being the mastermind behind the September 11 attacks, and Afiki Siddiqui, a Pakistani woman who was acting as a double agent for the CIA and the Taliban. So I don't even know them. Despite the pouring over, huge documents on the subject of transnational militancy, I think these people only pass for middle-tier commanders or people who were actually not culpable of the militant or terrorist crimes they were accused of.
I think that at least the people of America were given the opportunity, to kind of, deliberate on this matter, to make that decision as to whether to keep them here in the country or send them back to their various countries. But in this case, we get a statement out and not knowing that they were even in Ghana already. So I'm sure everybody was thinking, okay, probably government is trying to engage us now. And then before we know it, oh, they're already here. So it's like, we're just telling you they're here.
Okay,
Don't you think that the people of Ghana deserved a bit of engagement?
I think the desperate attempt to preempt any MPP political capital from this by the NDC was just like shutting the stable door after the horse has bolted.
But was that the right thing to do?
Some of these things are clandestine. They are shrouded in secrecy, matters of national security, matters of, or maybe then anytime Ghana gets choppers from the US, we have to tell Ghanaians that we are buying 2 choppers.
But listen, I mean, we had
when you
members
give away
of parliament
too much classified information into the public, you are harming your enemies. And we live in...
That bit I get. I mean, we had members of parliament talking about the fact that this should have come through parliament, for instance. I mean, yesterday we spoke with Deputy Communications Minister Felix Kwachu-Fosu, who says, look, this was done in the confines of the law. And in fact, I followed it up with what exactly does the law say in this case, but he didn't give me an answer to that. But is this like what? If we say what was done in the confines of the law, you think that due process was followed?
I think in terms of foreign policy, I would give this government 0 on certain issues, like the GMOs, the debate over the EPA. But on this one, I think this was a shrewd political decision we made as a country.
Ibad, what do we benefit from this as
A
the
lot.
government of Ghana? What do we benefit? Money?
Number one, CAF, next time you and I find ourselves marooned abroad, that level of compassion and humanitarianism we've shown will be reciprocated to us.
You think so?
So this gives Ghana, puts Ghana on a pedestal that will, you know, enhance our image and reputation in the eyes of the international community.
It's in the interest of the U.S. to
No,
have these people out of their country. What is our interest in this?
Global terrorism is an American problem. It's a global problem. And therefore, if you are called upon as a member of the Committee of Nations that you should contribute to your widow's mite, I think you have the moral and legal obligation to do that.
And if we had said no, what would have been the consequences? Were we forced?
Now that we've said yes, what are the consequences?
If we had said no, first of all,
see,
let's play
what
the
are the
devil's
consequences?
Let's not be flippant about this, CAF. And I've been courteous enough to tell Ghanaians, yes, we all agree. Obama campaigned on the platform of pursuing pacifism in terms of America's foreign policies. He said he would end the war in Afghanistan, end the war in Iraq, and shut down Guantanamo.
Exactly.
He's racing against time because they go to the polls
and
in
some
November.
say this indeed a move by our government to assist President Obama to fulfill this promise.
It could be also a move by our government to cozy up to the U.S. to get much more expertise and assistance from the Americans. Look,
so
we live in a
at least
symbiotic...
there's a bit of truth in what you heard from the Fox channel. But what you just said, I think, resonates with what the rep in that interview.
The clip from Fox is quite hyperbolic.
You think they are exaggerating?
They are exaggerating.
Listen, Irbad, we went out on the streets to find out from fellow citizens what they thought of the possibility of these gentlemen in town with us, because they've been in since Wednesday.
They are our neighbors.
They are our neighbors now. So this is what they had to say.
It is an unfortunate situation that we are experiencing as a country, because someone would like to ask, what is the purpose of the Americans deporting such terrorists from their country to our country? What are they not secured enough keeping such terrorists in their country? And why is our president accepting such thing in the country?
African leaders are not serious. I mean, on what grounds will the president of a poor African country like Ghana want to bring in terrorists into our country? Are we serious? What is the Mahama administration up to? How can you just import prisoners from America, a whole nation like America? They don't have enough resources to keep them, and you want to bring them to Ghana in an election year?
To me, it's good, but I don't know everybody's mind, so it depends on. But to me, there is good, and I'm happy that all of us to just accept it for him to bring it, maybe to help us.
So far, as it said, we don't have so many places for people to even live and all that. So why are we supposed to bring others to come and inconvenience us?
Well, I think that, this government is not serious, and it's not taking Ghanaians it's taking Ghanaians for granted. Now, this thing is coming at a time that we are in an election year. Now, we have been told that 2 Syrians who have been held hostage in the United States of America, no other country but the United States of America, for so many years, that the government is deciding to deport them. No country, absolutely no country, is offering them asylum. But Ghana has popped up to go and offer them asylum, just because of some monies and some resources that will come to this government. And believe me, these monies, when this contract or whatever the government has signed comes in, the government is just going to embezzle it. Now, the truth of the matter is, my brother, trust me, there are several Ghanaians on the street. They are majority of our own citizens just here in Circle and Asylum Down, who do not even have a place of abode to even lay their heads. Why is it that the government doesn't go in and then offer them a place to sleep?
So, Irbad, obviously, a lot of flustered Ghanaians, quite worried. They probably don't have the amount of information you have on this situation. But bottom line is, Ghanaians haven't had much information. This news just hit us like a bolt from the blue 2 days ago. Yeah. And now we are wondering why. Why has Ghana received these people? And then you do your research and find out that other countries in Africa have also received ex-detainees from Guantanamo, so Uganda, Egypt. And I'm thinking, why not China? Why not Canada? Why not UK? Is it just poor countries who receive these detainees? Poor countries who may be looking for favors in the future?
Feathers should not be ruffled over this. And CAF, if you are Pan-Africanist, if you think Africans should be on them should be self-sufficient, excuse me to say, next time we drill oil, let's not ship it across the Mediterranean. Let's refine our oil and use it.
So economics plays a role here.
Look, even the private airliner your president travels in was given us by these people. You can't take away. Look, when America sneezes, the whole world catches cold.
We all catch
I'm neither pro-American nor pro-Russia, but I think we should look at this quite dispassionately. It's a symbiotic kind of relationship. Look, we are talking about the porosity of our borders. It's not easy to have a 2-year working relationship with the CIA. Gitmo is under the control of the CIA. So whatever scheme that will come with Gitmo will be under the tutelage of the CIA. So this is an opportunity for us, BNI, national security, to learn state-of-the-art security techniques.
But it also means this place is going to be crawling with CIA operatives.
They are already there because the CIA has got a station office in every capital of the world.
So more of them are going to be here. They're going to keep an eye on these guys.
They are already here. They are already here.
It's a conditional release. So what does this mean? What does this mean for these gentlemen? Can they come? Can I meet them at Accra Mall?
You could.
You'll never meet them.
You could all shut it up. And
you know, I told Ghanaians yesterday on a TV show, let's make jest of this issue. It's not too serious. Put them on a morning show so that one will speak for the MPP, the other will speak for the NDC. The only thing we have to tell them is in Ghana, we don't throw bombs. We only talk NDC and MPP, then we go to sleep. This is no issue at all, and I believe so. Well, Ghanaians should be accommodating. We should be as hospitable as we've been. It's a deja vu for us. If we could accept 40,000 Liberians at Bujumbura with no national security issues, what is the fuss about these two guys that will be unarmed, that will not have access to the Ghanaian society, staying here for 2 years? It's completely a non-issue for me.
Irbad, but obviously concerns are genuine. Tell me that these concerns are not genuine.
They are genuine, but they are over-bloated, I think.
Yeah, because then, like we keep on saying, that you were not made a part of this decision.
You don't need to be a part of every foreign policy decision.
But listen, I mean, we talk about how that the American people, you know, we're made a part of that decision. So why can't we be made a part of it?
The Americans could have their say, but the Obama administration
can't
had
have
their
a say, is what we're saying.
You see, look, it's different when you put up something in the public.
I think we're going on and on about this, and you've said enough. Let's move forward. What is the way forward now? Now they are here. What is the way forward?
Look, if Fox hadn't reported this, you and I would have had no whiff of what was happening. And perhaps, look, you won't even be surprised if you got hardened drug cartel operatives spread across the world, just as the Americans want to do in the case of Gitmo detainees. Some of these things are not meant for public consumption. The U.S. has got the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. You are now trying to pass the Right to Information bill. So I can't walk into Parliament and say, furnish me with documents on this subject, or I go to the subcommittee on Defense and Foreign Affairs and ask them what went into this, you know, interaction between them. They won't give it
because there's no legal framework for that.
Exactly.
There are lots of comments for you, Irbad. So Irbad should give us a break. Why should we allow the government to make such a big mistake by accepting these two guys? What's your response?
I think I'm yet to be convinced by anybody why this is a bad deal. Nobody has been able to convince me. Look,
I mean, because
these guys...
I was telling you early on that, you know, it is believed that most of these detainees that are released, you know, into society come back to the practice.
An infinitesimal part of those guys go back. Less than 0.5%.
Can you put a figure to it?
Less than 5%. Yeah, less than 0.5%.
Can you prove that?
You know,
I just read this morning.
The Americans made was that you would take a Jordanian you captured in maybe Afghanistan and take him back to Jordan after Gitmo. You took some to Yemen, took some to Saudi Arabia. And these are flashpoint areas. And the tendency for people to go back to their stock in trade, which is militancy, is quite high. That is why now they are being tactical about it. Let's sprinkle them across the walls.
Sprinkle indeed. And we're having issues with ISIS. You remember last year, there were reports of this Nazir chap who went off, joined ISIS. It's a lady who was joined. We're having Boko Haram just a 45-minute ride away from us. And there's a question here from one of our viewers. It says, is Ghana more secure than the USA? Why do we have Gitmo detainees in Ghana and not any other country at all? Are we safe?
I think when you look at the judicial system and extradition laws in the US, Senate wouldn't accept that maybe Texas should take some of these detainees. Look, we live in a global village. And therefore, if there can be this kind of rapprochement between us and other world powers, then so be it. I think we are safe. If these two guys had come in surreptitiously on the blind side of government, then we would have concerns about ISIS recruitment, interaction with people here that are impressionable and could easily be radicalized. But these are guys that will be under the complete control of our security agencies in concert with the CIA. I won't be surprised if these Americans will even fit surveillance and satellite cameras and even be monitoring them in case our 24/7, security here does not suffice.
Well,
they will not go anywhere. They will not talk to anybody. They can't use any phone. They can't go onto the internet. So there is no...
But can they get married and have children? One of them says he wants to learn the language.
It's a figment of his imagination.
Get married.
When you're even at
get a job.
you don't have those goodies. I think it will take quite some time. Look, there are positives to this.
You know what I'm getting from what you're trying to allay our fears, and
tell you about the reality on the ground
as
well.
But that little laughter wasn't for the submissions that you were making. Someone just sensed this to say, so what if ISIS or Al Qaeda instructs government of Ghana to allow the two terrorists to leave for Yemen, Syria, Afghanistan immediately or face terror action?
ISIS cannot strike here. I think ISIS is in its final throes, militarily speaking.
Really? What gives you such confidence?
I think this is deep. In fact,
the very epicenter, which is an interesting piece in this jigsaw puzzle, is that when you go to Raqqa, Mosul, they just lost to Ramadi, the city of Ramadi. So they're under a lot of stress and strain because of the military coalition that has been formed by the international community. So attacking Ghana will not be on their priority list at this time.
Well, definitely something to ponder.
They are high value, they are high value, terrorists that these people will call for. There is a philosophy in global jihad. We call it Fakulani, breaking down of pillars. So if there are, important Al-Qaeda or ISIS operatives in Sawam or Ankafo, they could give an instruction that strike Ankafo and free them. But these are two guys. They don't even know ISIS because they predate ISIS. So therefore, please, let's not make a fuss out of this. I think this is a very, small bilateral interaction between us and the Americans.
And you talked about benefits. What are the benefits to Ghana?
There will be a lot of exchange of expertise. I think very soon the kind of porosity you see in our entry points may change somewhat because state of the art, the Americans are watching us. I won't be surprised when they even monitor what you are doing currently at GH1. They've got forward operating bases in Burkina Faso. And during Kufuor's time, ex-President Kufuor, they wanted to have a permanent military base in Ghana for AFRICOM.
I remember.
We said no to it. So there have been times as a country we've created this solid firewall against foreign imperialism here in the country and elsewhere on the continent. But this is not a bad deal. It doesn't stink. There's a lot we can get from this. It will only put us up as a humanitarian country that will be in the same league of sympathetic nations like Norway and Switzerland, that we provide solace and distress, and we provide solace and redress to people in their time of distress.
How about the Syrians? We're forgetting about the Syrians who are supposed to be coming into the Ghana. Yesterday, I heard a gentleman at the refugee board speaking about how there's no cost to Ghana at all because it's been taken care of. We have Syrians, we have Rwandese. Why are Rwandese coming to Ghana? I thought Paul Kagame had done such a fantastic job.
We're all in Africa.
He may be president again if he goes in 2017. The country is stable after 22 years after the Rwanda genocide. Why can't a Rwandese who has been cleared of whatever charge go back to his country?
Someone said yesterday, Ghana is always in Mekaba dealings, deadly dealings. We imported Ebola and now we are importing terrorists and refugees. But I think, the Syrian bit is quite interesting. I have Syrian friends. They are so hardworking, very industrious, and most Syrians are artisans. Germany wants some of these people, and we are getting them on a silver platter. And I know a Syrian who has moved in with his family. He was here alone since 2006, but because of the crisis in his country, he's moved in with his wife and his kids. He's doing so well in the manufacturing industry. He's just 2 kilometers away from here. So therefore, I think let's look at the positive side of this. Let's not be too pessimistic. Right? Yes, let's not be too pessimistic about this. I believe Bujumbura, we've got ISO, who came here as a refugee, but was doing so well for our entertainment industry. People who have come in as refugees have intermarried, they've helped in building our economy, and therefore, CAF, I think let's be positive.
Let's be positive. Before you come in,
yes.
Because there's so much I need to extract from this gentleman before he disappears.
That's right, that's right.
Look, Nazir Note Alima, remember him?
Yeah,
this is the gentleman who is supposed to have left Ghana to join ISIS. On the 4th of December 2015, he posted on his Facebook page, "All I can say about my new life here would be summarized under these 9 reasons, which I'll take one after the other in the coming days, inshallah." Okay, so number 1, he says, our purpose of life in this world. Number 2, Tawheed.
Tawheed
You explain
is,
for me.
Monotheism.
Say one God, believe in one God.
Yeah.
And then he said number 3, Kufr bit Taghut.
That is disbelieving in idols.
Okay, good. Ruling by Allah's rules. I understand that. Fitna and corruption in the land. What's fitna?
Tribulation.
Tribulation. Hijra.
Immigration.
Immigration. Khilafa.
And that is the caliphate.
The caliphate. What is the caliphate?
The caliphate was a political structure. You know, in the 8th century, it was the eastern bloc of the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, that controlled most of what we call the Middle East today. So after the demise of the Prophet, those who took over politically made it a frantic, effort to spread the message. So they smashed the Persian Empire. And that explains the Arab-Iranian,
Saudi, Iran,
And they also smashed the Byzantine Empire. So that caused Pope Urban I, who was domiciled in France, to in 1099 declare the Crusades. You've heard of the Crusades that ran on for like 200 years.
So Nazir is like calling for a new caliphate.
So the Abbasid dynasty was a caliphate, the Umayyad dynasty, the Ottoman Empire by the Turkish people was also a caliphate until it crumbled after the First World War. So a certain scheme similar to the United Nations, the League of Nations, or African Union, or ECOWAS.
Is this what ISIS believes in?
That is what ISIS
is believing in.
That is why it has franchises across the world.
Number 8, he says jihad. What does jihad mean?
Look, this is the upteenth time
we are
explaining to people
we need to understand
jihad doesn't necessarily mean being at daggers drawn with people. Jihad comes from the Arabic word jahada, to exert an effort. So when you wake up at 3 a.m. to come to work, to put food on your family's table, you are carrying out a form of jihad. So that's why it's a jihadist. You are a jihadist.
But why do we have military and terroristic connotations to that word?
There are very different levels of jihad. And Islam says, can I quote the Quran?
Yes, indeed, and translate.
And the Holy Quran says, لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم إن الله يحب المقسطين. For those who do not fight you in matters of religion and do not force you and your families out of your homes, God enjoins you to stay with them in peace and equity and tranquility. Verily, God loves those that are equitable. So these are the fundamental conditions. In Ghana, I'm not a jihadist in Ghana. I'm not fighting Ghana's government. I'm not fighting against the grain. Why? I've not been forced to leave or renege on my faith. We're able to pray 5 times a day. Government actually helps us in the organization of Hajj.
Exactly.
So a Ghanaian will have no reason whatsoever, similar to Nazir Alema, to say we have to wage jihad in Ghana. And we've not been forced out of our homes.
Is this why he's saying this from wherever he is?
Yes.
On his Facebook page?
So we are saying jihad is is circumstantial and contextual. In the Central African Republic today, the French forces are disarming Muslims and allowing anti-Baleka, Christian rebels, kill them. In the Central African Republic, for as long as they've been killed, for as long as their mosques have been demolished, for as long as they've been forced out of their homes, jihad becomes legitimate for them. So if we don't get this contextual and circumstantial understanding, you would think it's a universal phenomenon. Wherever there is injustice, it behoves on Muslims to stand up against it. So therefore, that military angle to jihad is existent, is part of the teachings of the philosophy of Islam, but it doesn't apply at every point in time and at every geographical location.
But ISIS takes advantage of that to do what they do.
And yeah, ISIS says it wants to spread from Iraq and Syria. You know, ISIS, did propaganda and gained, recruitment from people because they saw the Americans as crusaders. Neo-crusaders that were invading the Middle East. So they had people who said, no, let's fend off this attack. So they started recruiting. Ghana is not Iraq.
But the Ghanaian is writing all this now. His last point is martyrdom. And we'll talk about that after we take a quick international break for World in 60 Seconds. We'll come back with Irbad Ibrahim, who is looking into the security issues facing our country. Stay with us. This is GH Today.
The Inter-Religious Council of Uganda has called for an independent investigation into allegations that a voter list to be used for the February 18th general election is not credible, stating that it has been tampered with to the benefit of the incumbent president and his ruling National Resistance Movement Party. South Sudan's opposing parties have agreed to share ministerial positions in a transition government for the sake of national unity. The chair of the body monitoring a peace deal has said the deal states that a transitional government will be created for a period of 30 months followed by an election. President Barack Obama has fielded tough questions from gun owners at a televised town hall on his move to tighten gun rules. Today in history, in the year 1970, the then President of the United States, George Washington, delivered his first State of the Nation address.
So that was our trip around the world in 60 seconds. One more trip awaits you in the next hour. We're looking at whether Ghana is on top of her security issues. We spoke first about the Guantanamo issue, touched a little bit on the presence of Rwandese and Syrians in the country on humanitarian grounds. And then I was reading from the Facebook page of Nazir Alima Note, who is the Ghanaian who we believe is in Syria right now and possibly working with ISIS. And we're looking at the post that he made on his Facebook page on the 4th of December. He ended with martyrdom, which means dying for one's faith. Or one's belief.
Martyrdom. We call it al-istishhad in Islam. When you die defending your family. You see, we believe as Muslims that every human being is accountable for their deeds, and God Almighty will judge us based upon what we did in the world. Judgment is going to be a tough experience for most people. Every peswa you earn will be examined. How you used your body will be examined, and all these things. So martyrdom gives you the leeway to avoid this grilling. And this divine grilling on the day of judgment. So there are things that qualify you for martyrdom. When a woman gets pregnant, she's so compassionate, she nurses a child in her womb and wants the child to also breathe the air we have in the world. She's doing a form of jihad. Islam says if she dies in the process, then she also dies a martyr. If you die defending your family, your kids, and then your wife, you die a martyr.
Are you worried about this?
If you get drowned, you die a martyr. If this fire incident I had killed me, perhaps I would have been a martyr.
Are you worried about this chap who is out there?
I was just going to say that, riding on the back of everything that Kafwe just read out.
Yes.
Are you worried about Nazir?
And do you think he could be recruiting more Ghanaians?
He can't recruit.
He definitely
Ghanaians.
has links here. He's Ghanaian.
But he can't freely communicate with Ghanaians here.
Are we monitoring his family?
Certainly. His Facebook page is strictly monitored, and if we deem it necessary, we could call on Facebook to shut that account. But sometimes you leave a window of opportunity to know the psyche of such people. So that's why I don't agree with the international press. When you shut them off, you don't listen to what they say. You listen to them and get to know their next move. So I believe this guy, yes, he poses a palpable threat for us in future. The 8 guys that attacked Paris on November 3rd, and some of them were in fact ISIS retainees, people just like him who had traveled to train in the camps of ISIS in Syria and Iraq. So yes, there is a certain tendency that he could come back, but it's not going to be an easy sell for him. So I've been presumptuous enough to call for the revocation of any Ghanaian that tries to travel abroad to train with any such militant organizations, whether Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, Al-Qaeda, or ISIS, so that we cancel your passport. That way, if you want to come back into the jurisdiction, you would have to go to our consulate, and they will be able to nab you from there. But my fear is there is a labyrinth of safe passages they use. The person can travel to another country and then travel terrestrially. With the corruption at our borders, when we even pay a pittance.
1 million rounds of cartridges are coming in.
And they are quite good at, deceiving people. Some of them could even dress like women sometimes to evade arrest and all that. So the dilemma perhaps his colleagues in UST knew may be an entirely different person. His physique and facial
exactly.
Would have changed.
As you say that now, you remember that in the issue of the Paris attacks, there was one of the attackers that apparently came through as a refugee. From Syria. Okay, and so I think I agree with what you're saying.
Indeed. Quick, before you run, this worried me yesterday. So it's a statement from the Shia National Imam. He's sending his condolences to the family of Sheikh Nimr al-Nimr. Now, this is a gentleman, an Iranian chap who was executed last week, I believe, by the Saudis. So this is from Ghana, So the Office of the Shia National Imam Ghana uses this medium to warmly wish Christians in Ghana a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And then he goes to talk about hearing of the unfortunate murder of this Iranian sheikh in the Royal Kingdom of Saudi, and then basically condemns the Saudi royal family and links them to various criminal organizations: ISIS, Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Ahrash, Al-Shabaab, Jama'at Ahlu, Boko Haram. All these people who kill in the name of Islam, according to this statement. What is a Ghanaian sheikh getting himself involved in these matters for?
I think
Ghanaian imam.
Is
this different from the chief imam?
It's different. If you want to test the pulse of Muslims around the world, look at what is happening to their brethren across the world. For us, there is a domino effect. When something happens in Damascus, Muslims in Accra should also be concerned. This Nimr and Nimr guy is a Saudi, and the eastern province of Qatif in Saudi is dominated by Shiites, and Saudis are thoroughly Sunni. And the difference between the Sunnis and the Shiites is this: the Sunnis believe that Kafiride, in case he becomes a Muslim, has got the intellectual capacity to interpret divine scriptures with no qualms, so that it won't be a selective elitist thing for a certain lineage. But the Shiites believe if you don't have a strand or the DNA of the Prophet in you, then you are not an authority enough to tell the world what the Holy Quran says. So their division is quite doctrinal, and it's also quite political. And for so many centuries, the Shiites were persecuted. So for once, they have become so powerful. They are in charge of most African countries. Syria, they control Bashar Assad today. They're in charge of Iraq because democracy is a dictatorship of numerical strength. They outnumber the Sunnis in Iraq. They're in charge of Sana'a in Yemen. They're in charge of Lebanon. Hezbollah kowtows to the whims and caprices of Iran.
Are they in Ghana?
Why are you asking?
Are they controlling the Muslims in Ghana? But why is this imam making this statement?
The Shiite community is answerable to Iran, just as the Sunni community is answerable to Saudi Arabia. So whatever happens at that level will have a trickle-down effect across the world. As we speak today, their Nigerian representative is called Zak Zaki. He attacked the convoy of the Chief of Defense Staff, and he was given a weapon for doing that. So ours has not been military. And 2 years ago, I was privileged to sit in a conference that was addressed by elements of Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency. Most of Hezbollah's activities have been in Nigeria rather than Ghana. So there is no cause for alarm. I think this message is just a message in solidarity with that guy who was decapitated by Saudi authorities.
Should we be worried?
We shouldn't be worried. Why would you be worried? You shouldn't be worried at all.
I think you just answered it. I was just going to the point where we could be finding out what the implications could be, but
the implications will be financial. I think Saudis pump a lot of petrodollars into Ghana. They are building schools, they are building boreholes and all that. Iranians want to counter that. They already have a university. And they already have Iran clinic here. So there is this, rivalry.
And are they building that fantastic mosque?
Yeah, they are
The
building.
Iranians?
No, the Turkish people
Those are
are
the
building
Turks.
it. But
And are the Turks aligned to the Iranians?
Turks are
or
Sunnis. They are aligned to
aligned to
Saudi Arabia.
Saudis?
So that
There's a
tells you
school,
the
I don't know if
position
you
of
know.
Turkey on the Syrian crisis. Anybody who is pro-Assad toes the line of Iran.
Okay.
Anybody who is anti-Assad toes the line of Saudi Arabia and Sunni Islam in the world.
And now we have the Al Rayyan school in East Legon as well.
Al Rayyan is for the Lebanese community.
Okay.
Ibrad,
I think that's been good.
thank
Very
you so much.
informative.
You most welcome.
Somebody was curious about your gloves, and
I keep saying this is not a
I
fashion
know.
statement.
No,
Yeah,
It's
so
okay, what I got.
it's almost looking as if, you know,
no,
it
it
is.
isn't.
Oh,
I
okay. Okay, so
suffered
you was
serious
burned.
burns,
Yeah,
so
yes.
I'm now
I mean, you explained that the
recuperating.
last time, but
Yeah,
Wow.
this
There's
is
a
even
definitely
worse.
different one.
Wow.
Yeah, this is even worse.
It's different from what you wore the
Oh
last time.
my
so
God.
that's what I'm saying. And if Kafi says fashion statement, I think that
I didn't say. Somebody was wondering whether it was a fashion, why you were wearing the gloves. So
the
you've
Ghanaians
told us.
have known me well enough.
told us.
As a young man with a loud mouth who speaks a lot.
No, you speak a lot of sense.
Yes, before
Thank you.
this, they saw my hands,
it.
Yes.
but they can't see my hands
concerned.
today.
They're
After
concerned.
therapy, they will see my hands.
They're concerned.
Yeah.
Ibrad, always
Thanks,
a pleasure.
thanks
Same
once
here.
again.
Always,
Same
it's
here.
almost like sitting in a university class and getting knowledge from the
I
lecturer.
know,
Thank
right?
you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Someone
Thank you
actually
so
said that I want to be part of your team.
What team? The
Well,
Peace Ambassadorial team.
okay, so that's
I
it,
think
right?
it's a collective responsibility. But GH1 can come on board.
All right.
I have plans of, going to various university campuses to sensitize people about the need. Anybody who went to Legon or KNUS, they would look around in your lecture hall, and you could hardly count one or two sons of a minister or a politician.
Yes.
Many of our counterparts studied in Harvard or Oxford. So why would I be used as cannon fodder to make someone an honorable, for example?
Exactly.
So that's the message we want to get down, so that we, the young people that are the most vulnerable in this, in terms of stoking political violence, will not be used.
All
So
right.
anybody who wants to be associated, GH1 as a media partner,
One time.
corporate buddies, you can write to Peace Ambassador 2016 at gmail.com or call 0261-932-194. 0261-932-194.
Ibrad,
I think it's been a healthy
thank you very much.
conversation.
You're most welcome. Thanks for
there
having
you
me.
go. All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
There you go.